In the small town of Dragør on the Danish coast, there's a small plaque. A reminder of a time when Denmark was not the oasis of calm it is today. A time when fishermen up and down the coast risked everything, putting their humble vessels in harm's way for the sake of their fellow men. The story of these unlikely heroes goes back to 1939. At that time, everyday life in Denmark appeared normal, but it was an uneasy calm that would not last. The Nazis had invaded Poland, starting the Second World War. Denmark, hoping to remain neutral, negotiated a non-aggression pact with the Germans. Yet there was a sense the country was living on borrowed time. On April 9, 1940, less than a year after the agreement had been signed, the Danes' worst fears were realized. The Nazis flooded Denmark with troops from land and sea, an invasion that lasted just 6 hours. The government surrendered after 2, deciding it was better to negotiate their fate rather than fight to the bitter end. In a twist, Hitler chose to treat Denmark as a model protectorate rather than a conquest, a way to illustrate how Europe in the future would look under the Nazis. The police and judicial system were actually left in Danish hands, and King Christian X remained head of state. The uncomfortable arrangement that allowed the illusion of normalcy soon began to unravel as the Germans tightened their grip on the country, implementing censorship, banishing the Communist Party, and increasing their scrutiny of the Jews.
Hvad skal der ske med os?
What is going to happen to us? Everyone asked. There was much fear in the air and discrimination, but it was subtle so as not to upset the rest of the Danish people.
By late 1942, the resistance was gaining strength and momentum. Yet in a strategic blunder, the Germans allowed national elections the following spring. Almost 90% of the population voted and overwhelmingly rejected the Nazis. Strikes and protests came next, but the authorities quickly outlawed any public assembly, and a curfew was instituted when the resistance continued to attack. Finally, on August 29, 1943, martial law was instituted. Having negotiated with the Social Democrats and dispersed the Communists, the Germans turned their eyes to the Jews. After having harassed them for years, they undertook a secret plan in September to sweep up the entire community on the night of the Jewish New Year, when they thought all the Jews would be at home.
Min mor, hun var...
My mother was an Orthodox Jew, but she didn't practice, and though my father was a Christian, she and I had to flee for our safety.
As the army marched house to house, they were stunned to find no one. Nearly all the Jews had vanished, having been tipped off about the impending purge. The race to escape was on. The Jews headed for coastal ports, knowing freedom lay just across the Öresund Strait. Neutral Sweden had committed to accept the Jewish refugees. While some Germans turned a blind eye towards the fleeing population, others conducted a relentless search. No place was safe.
For the local, it was a big risk. People should understand that it was very dangerous to help the Jewish people.
Yet help the locals did, displaying remarkable courage in the face of a terrifying foe. They hid the Jews by day, then slipped them onto fishing boats for the stealth voyage at night. It took almost 2 months.
They was hidden under the nets. They could hear what happened. And you imagine how scary it was for them.
Despite the locals' best efforts, some Jews were captured. Others had to make life-changing decisions in a moment.
Men hun var jo alene, og ingen af jøderne vidste jo, om de kom levende over til Sverige.
My mother, she was alone, and none of the Jews knew if they would make it to Sweden alive. So she made the decision to leave me with one of the fishermen's families until after the war. I was devastated, but knew my mother had given me my best chance at life.
More than 600 times the boats crept out into the darkness, slowly making their way toward the beacon of freedom. More than 99% of Danish Jews managed to survive the war. A remarkable statistic when compared to the casualties experienced by Jews in other European countries.
Many Danish people helped me in dangerous times. And after the war, I was lucky enough to find my parents again. So fate was very kind to me.
Så skæbnen var rigtig mild mod mig.
The rescue of the Danish Jews is a proud moment in the turbulent times of World War II that simply must not be forgotten. In 1888, Oscar Davidsen began creating smørrebrød masterpieces. Lots of delicious topping on very thin slices of bread. His restaurant is still booming and now run by his great-granddaughter. We're here in Copenhagen with Ida Davidsen, who is perhaps as iconic to Denmark as Hans Christian Andersen.
Right.
And today she's going to show us how to make one of her world-famous open-faced sandwiches.
Actually, we are going to make a Hans Christian Andersen.
Okay.
Yes, we butter the bread first.
Yeah, but the bread is always rye, dark rye bread.
It mostly, yeah.
Mostly.
If you have fish, we put some white bread on. I get you a plate.
Yeah.
You can put it on. And then we put some bacon on.
Yeah.
So. And after that, we put some liver pate on.
We put it across like that, so it looks...
Yeah, so it goes out of the bread, so it goes on both sides.
Yeah.
And then you have liver pate down, like that. And then we have some tomatoes. Here, I have 3 for you.
Thank you.
And 3 for me. We put them on the side of the liver pate. All the ingredients here is something Hans Christian Andersen liked. It says in different books. So now we are on here bacon, liver pate, tomato.
Yeah.
And then we have shredded horseradish.
Liver pate, of course, is very Danish, isn't it?
Very Danish.
Yeah.
And then we have here, this is something very Danish. It's consommé à speak. It's made with consommé. And he liked that very much. It's called sky in Danish.
She, yes.
Yeah. So we put that on the liver pate side.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and then we have a little nice, between 2 fingers of chopped fresh parsley. There you have a Hans Christian Andersen, but there's many, many more open sandwiches, you know.
And there are stories behind almost every sandwich that you
Almost,
have.
almost.
Yeah. What are some of the most popular ones?
Victor Borge, he was here every summer when he was still alive. And
was the great pianist,
on vacation, and he always had 1 or 2 concerts. He came down every day for lunch, and he loved Danish fish. Raw salmon, fresh peeled shrimp,
Yes.
crayfish tails, lumpfish caviar, and a little dill mayonnaise on side.
That was his favorite,
That was
it?
his favorite, and of course that was called his name.
So that remains now on the menu
Yeah,
as
yeah,
a Victor
Victor
Borge.
Borge.
And what are some of the other ones?
Another one was smoked salmon for the aquavit snaps called Aalborg.
Yep.
It was Aalborg's 150 years birthday. And then I made as a birthday present an open sandwich, and that is with smoked salmon, lumpfish caviar, and salmon tartare. You take raw salmon and make it into a tartare with fresh spices. I put an eggshell with aquavit on top. So you pour that over as a dressing. the aquavit.
Nice.
And it tastes fantastic,
Yeah, I
I'd say.
bet. And I bet they're very happy after they've eaten it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then some of the other ones?
And some of the other. Nils Jørgen Kaiser, he was the director of Tivoli Garden. And he wanted liver pate with bacon, lingonberry, parsley frites and mushroom.
And that's called a Kaiser sandwich.
Exactly, exactly. And then we had Princess Marie.
Yep.
She wanted smoked blue marlin with fresh asparagus and scrambled egg with truffles and a little salmon caviar and with marinated seaweed.
So that's a very exotic sandwich. Princess Marie had exotic taste.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Of course, there's a Union Jack. That is a very good one. It's steak tartare with fresh peeled shrimp and an egg yolk in the middle. I know you like shrimp. I know that's your favorite.
In the world.
Yeah, absolutely. We will make you one.
Yep.
And I think we should put the egg in the bottom, like that. And then you have some spicy mayonnaise. And then you take the shrimp. You have the head and the tail the same way. And you go all the way down, and they go the head the same way and the tail the same way. And then we have a little dill, so it has to stand up.
And what is this sandwich called? Or this?
Egg and shrimp.
It's quite funny because most people, when they think of sandwiches, they think of a lot of bread. Here, the bread completely disappears.
It's a law to be a pantry chef. You're not supposed to see the bread.
Really?
If you see the bread, it's a sort of cheap hand ones, like
Right.
a sapam.
Yes.
You just put down.
Yeah.
When it's very well done as this, it's not supposed to see the bread.
So it's a generous portion
Yeah,
of
exactly.
toppings.
Yeah.
And much healthier as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a bit like eating art. It's so beautiful.
Thank you so much. We like it. My favorite is new potato. Of course, you boil them first.
Yeah.
And you cut them in slices. And put them on dark bread.
Yeah.
And then we have some chives here.
Yeah.
And you just pour that over like that. There
So
we
this
go.
is pork fat.
Pork fat with onion and apples. Now it's really tasty. Hops. Yeah. And then of course you have to have a beer and an aquavit with it.
That's good.
Isn't it? Real good.
And this is the simplest
Yeah.
and the cheapest ingredients and the most delicious.
It is.
I understand why you
Now-
call it your favorite.
Yes, it is my favorite.
Smørrebrød is a tasty slice of Scandinavian food culture. Try it and you may never go back to the ordinary sandwich. Copenhagen is one of the world's most livable cities, and its Nyhavn waterfront is instantly recognizable. But there's much more to Copenhagen. With stunning architecture everywhere you look, one of my favorite ways to enjoy it is by water. Winding through Copenhagen's tranquil waterways, some of the best views of the city unfold before you at a relaxing pace. Back on land at beautiful Amalienborg, winter palace of the Danish royal family, the cobblestone plaza is home to a fascinating display of precision and formality that dates back to the 17th century. Another Copenhagen must-see is the Carlsberg Brewery. While its history and collection of over 10,000 bottles of beer is interesting, the art is what makes it special, including these beautiful elephant sculptures. Plus a collection of works by the sculptor Rodin, and others set in a quiet garden. And of course there's always shopping. A quick browse through the Royal Copenhagen shop is always a treat. If you're feeling energetic and would like to stretch your legs, a climb to the top of the Church of Our Saviour is worth every step. The absolute quiet is almost deafening as you take in remarkable views. Or for a thought-provoking experience, explore the Jewish Museum designed by Daniel Liebeskind. The museum is a work of art in itself, and its displays provide a window into centuries of Jewish life in Copenhagen. And just outside the city is something really special, Roskilde's Viking Ship Museum, home to 5 original Viking ships and a wealth of information about the Viking Age. Copenhagen is truly a delightful city. We look forward to sharing with you its many sides.